Seems like Canadians cannot get away from the property losses that are happening across the GTA, across BC, and across Canada. Frankly, it's something that's become very common from coast to coast here. And in today's video, me and Kyle are going to talk about a loss on my end, and something even more impressive than the size of the loss that I'm going to show you is what's going on in Vancouver. I think that's going to be even more important to start with here. Kyle, talk to us. What are you feeling on the ground level with your clients? Are they experiencing a lot of losses right now, or what are you seeing mostly?
Yeah, I think unfortunately for most, especially for those who bought from 2019 onward, a huge majority of people are seeing those losses. And that's just something that I'm communicating big time for anyone who is purchasing. You got to make sure that you're going to be wanting to sit in your home for a while. And then in terms of, pre-sales, in terms of some of those items where people are looking at that, and obviously in the news, especially what's happening in Ontario, HST rebates, GST rebates, and all these other items that maybe may change your decision on buying a pre-sale. I'm going to be showing you something right now where you just have to be very, very careful, because there's one building in particular called the Butterfly. Anyone that's in Vancouver understands it, but if you're elsewhere in the country, in Toronto, look it up. It is a high-end luxury tower. People bought these pre-sale at the peak of the market, and nothing has been sold yet at all in that entire building. And there's going to be some substantial losses when something does complete.
So let me ask you a question. In Ontario, usually the builders can't actually start the construction until they've sold a big percentage of the building, whatever that is, 50, 60, 70%. Is that not the case in Vancouver? Can these builders just build and then sell, or is that how it usually operates out there?
So in this particular case, these are owners that already purchased. So these aren't developers that are taking the loss. These are unfortunately, real life sellers who bought this likely as a speculator, as an investment. But to answer your question, it is the same. They need to have their,
Okay.
a minimum down to get the funded project, unless they're a very wealthy developer and they don't need the financing. They can just go ahead as they please.
Awesome. So let's get into it. Yeah, I guess this is just one of those cases. Everybody wants to sell after buying, and now nobody can actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to pull up just on the MLS here. So this one here is 1603 1033 Nelson Street. This is in the Butterfly building. So I'm just going to show you some photos, and you're probably going to see why maybe they haven't moved. It's built right onto one of our oldest churches here, First Baptist Church on Nelson here. And you can see outside, it's quite visually appealing, like a really cool design. Vancouver has been just built with so much glass that does stand out. But because it's quite cylindrical, you're going to see some of these issues here on the inside. It is, built to a very high standard. You can just see it even with the door materials, the lighting, and the lobbyways. So, there's a lot of curvatures on the ceiling and the windows itself, but to me, it kind of looks a little bit like a hospital. So this is the bedroom here. So it's all glass. You got these blinds. It really, a lot of people just feel like you're in a high-end hospital room here. Everything's integrated, but with this, because it's so cylindrical, yes, you get some nice views of the mountains here. It's hard to place furniture, and that's why things are kind of awkward. You have a couch that backs right against the bedroom. Everything is, where do you really put a table? It's tucked away here at the window section here. So there's a lot of nice little details to it. This is one of the bedrooms on the inside here with the wood detailing. So the features here are nice, and it was by a renowned architect, but it has not landed. You can see this like super ornate. These are very expensive vanities here, these one-piece vanities. You can see the stonework. But when we look at what's been happening, I mean, I don't know, what are your thoughts, Mike? Would you kind of like to wake up and you're just staring right into your couch in your living room?
Honestly, I'm looking at these pictures and I don't even know the price of the unit, but I have zero interest in this altogether. My first instinct was looking at these windows. They're not regular panels, they're not a regular shape. God forbid there's any issues. Like, the cost to do repairs on something like this is going to be astronomical out the gate. The layout there sucks. That kitchen seems super non-functional. I don't
Yeah.
want to be sleeping in a glass box. I spent my time in a hospital, and that kind of does resemble it. Hopefully the food that you make there is a little bit better than what you get in a hospital, but this layout sucks. When you have all these the curvature, it
Mhm.
really limits the way you can utilize that living space. You have to use your furniture to kind of give you that separation and the designation of your spaces. But those curved walls, I guess you can buy a curved TV, but it really doesn't land well. I mean, the pictures don't do it much justice either. But tell me the price. What's the price on this one, Kyle?
So the price here, and this is where it gets interesting. So it's listed at 1560. So this is a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Like I said, it's been built 2024 and nothing so far is sold resale in here. It's 1065 as air conditioning. But when we look at the history here, this one has been on market not for too long, but this is the most shocking portion. When we open this up, the tax here, you can see it's assessed at 1.990. So they're already well below the assessed value. The crazy price here on the bottom, it says sales history information. Sales date, this is when this was purchased as a pre-sale, December 3rd, 2024, $2.404 million, right? So we are now almost $1 million under what the purchase for. So I know this is a loss video. There's not an actual realized loss here, but this has been something that's been sitting on the market for a while. And if we look at this, this is everything that's available. Some of these are rentals here. And you can see even like a rental, $8,800 a month for a 3 bedroom. But there's a ton of inventory and none of these units have sold. They've been on the market since 2026, essentially. Even this one started at 238, 2298, 2198, 1988, and the drops have continued. So for someone who maybe wants something that's a little bit unique, this is definitely a unique space. You're getting essentially pennies on the dollar. But what does it say that, these units, no one's buying them, even at $1 million under what they paid for, not to mention, they would have paid GST on top of that 2.4. They would have paid our property transfer tax. Now they're selling it, have to pay real estate commissions. These are, 7-figure losses once realized, plus all the holding costs as well.
These just blow my mind. And I mean, the loss is going to be probably one of the more significant losses that we'll ever talk about in terms of a monetary, if they're even able to sell. But I just can't see somebody wanting to spend 2.4 for that, looking at that layout and thinking, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to dump my 2.4 into. Even at the 1.5, nobody's jumping. Nobody's running for that thing and throwing in an offer. So that's pretty wild to me. And we see a lot of wild losses. And sometimes it's just somebody overpaying for a house, but at least the house has the ability to be renovated in a different way or to be utilized in a different way. This one, I mean, you can't really put up walls or adjust the structure. You're in a unique looking building from the outside. And I was excited. I'm like, hey, this looks like a cool spot. Inside, I'm pretty disappointed. And yeah, it's bland. The layout sucks. We're going to almost want to keep tabs on this and pull it up when we actually see a sale price, because that'll be something interesting.
Well, for sure. And I think that the opportunity cost on this too, they started pre-selling these units in 2017.
Holy.
So that's 9 years. So it's like you put down 20% on 2.4, that, as almost 500 grand that it was just sitting there until it completed in 2024. So you've lost all that opportunity cost. 2017, the market was going nuts here in Vancouver. Everyone thought that the pre-sale market was just going to do these parabolic rise and that, you'd be able to sell your contract or sell the unit, make $200,000 to $500,000 to $600,000. This was a unique building by a unique architect, but it's also in a pretty bad part of downtown. There's really nothing there. It's in the middle of downtown. You don't have close access to the seawall. You don't have close access to Stanley Park. There's no good really restaurants or cocktail lounges or anything in that vicinity. So it's in a really weird part of the city as well, which doesn't help. And then once it shows when there's a downturn, it can really be quite substantial. And for someone who's willing to list something around $1 million under what they paid for, there's got to be some motivation there to sell. Right. So it's sad, really. It's sad.
Yeah, we're in two markets where there's a lot of speculative buying, right? So in 2017, they're imagining who cares what we pay? It's going to be worth more in the future because everybody just sees things rise on the pre-construction side. And pre-construction has been great for so long. But the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen the reality of, hey, there is a flip side to the coin here. And that flip side gets nasty, especially when your money's stuck with the builder and you're in contract. You got to close on these things, whether that price is more than what you paid, or significantly less than what you've paid. So I'm not really a big pusher of pre-con. I know we've talked about this in previous episodes. Like I tell my clients, resale's the way to go right now. That can change in the future, but my loss is definitely not a condo. It's definitely not pre-construction. I don't know if you're going to be impressed with it at either price, to be honest with you. So I'm going to show you what I got going on. It's in the outskirts, so it's not in Toronto directly, but this one was actually outside Toronto in an area called Burlington, which is 45 minutes outside the city. So it's not directly downtown by any means, but let me pull it up here for you. So this one was actually
Oh,
sold, and
interesting.
yeah, we'll pull the sold date here. So this actually sold January 12th of 2022. So it's been some time, right? It's been, what do we got? 4 years later, this property's back on the market here. What we're looking at is a link. I don't know if you have these in the Vancouver area or not, but basically the foundation wall is attached to the house beside it. It's still categorized as a detached home, but the foundation in the basement is attached to the next property. So visually appealing, I would say no. It's not the prettiest looking house. Out the gate, one of the big issues with a house like this is you've got to either go around here to go up your front door, or sometimes there's stairs here, and then you have a sloping driveway that goes towards your home. Water is the enemy of the house, and
Mm.
the last thing you want to do is have a home that's welcoming it. So you really have to pay attention. There's usually some kind of sewer main at the bottom of these. A couple of things that aren't super nice to look at as a homeowner, but this sold for 1.3, believe it or not, during the peak market here. And this was like peak, peak, peak. This was the month of the peak here, February 2022. So this was the highest point this market would have ever seen. You can see here, you got to go up this way and then head up into your front door. There
What?
is another door at the bottom of the garage as well, but you enter
Why are
in your
those homes
basement.
so set back like that? So the between they share the basement foundation. Why is that one set back another, I don't know, 10 feet from the neighboring property? Is that how they always build them?
Yeah, not always. Some of them are like smack dab leveled up. This neighborhood, they're a little bit scattered back and forth. But yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. I guess it just depended on the way the street was configured and how they wanted to lay the houses out, I guess, because it is kind of like a U-shaped street that these ones are on. And I've actually sold a house 2 doors down from here in 2020, and nowhere near the 1.3 price. But when you come in the front door here, it is a split level. You come in, you're heading up to the kitchen, the main level, and then you head down into your basement and a secondary level here. It's okay. It looks like they've kind of done some mediocre renovations. Sometimes the pictures make it look nicer than it is. It's staged fairly nicely. It's got the pot lighting. It's got a big old rug to cover a lot of the flooring, which sometimes is nice. Other times as a buyer, it can leave me wondering, hey, what's underneath there? How's that floor actually been done? Is it going to be, done well? Or is it, me doing the flooring in the house? And then, the quality, if I'm doing it, is mediocre at best. This is all you got, right? So you got a little bit of living space here. They've opened it up because traditionally there is a wall here where
Mm.
these pot lights are. And then they've got the bar seating with the kitchen. So the big thing for me is the layout here. It doesn't really serve you with a great layout to have a TV set up either, because you've got just a railing and banister here. I guess you could do the TV here with the window giving you all the glare, but because that wall is not here anymore, you've removed that position where people are generally putting your TV in this living space. But all in all, I mean, the living space looks okay. Kitchen looks nice. It's good size. They get the bar top seating, some unique style to the cabinets, no hardware or anything on them. I don't know if I would get sick of that immediately or if it'd take a little bit of time, but I'd personally prefer a little bit of hardware on the cabinets. But it's a nicely shown house in the pictures. They've done the wainscoting, they've done the new lighting, they've got it staged right. And in this market, this thing was selling overnight, right? You're going to see here that it was listed on the 12th. It was sold by the 16th, right? So this was like 4 days, property sold. There's no inspection. There's no financing condition. They're just throwing money at it and they think that it's going to go up prior to. Fast forward to today, and you're going to look at this home selling for
Whoa.
$830,000. Yeah. And we're talking like a massive percentage. This is a 37% loss. And to remind you, 1.310, 830. Very, very significant loss. I don't know a world in which these guys would have had more than that in equity where they're going to be able to escape this in a good position. I think this is one of those situations where, they bought it for 1.3. If they had 500 down, they were lucky, but now they're in a position here at 830 with expenses and stuff. They're finding themselves in a financial spot where they're going to be screwed for life. And then you're selling in the winter when the property doesn't look appealing whatsoever. You've got an unkept driveway. You've got, I don't know, crap built up at the garage here in terms of your I don't even know what's going on there. Some leaves and some rubbish, right? So it's not the best time to sell. The home's not showing great, and it's also a vacant property.
It looks
So
even those stairs, you can see they're all beat up. It's
yeah,
even that exterior shots. It looked a little bit more rough. So yeah,
yeah.
at least you could have cleared out the leaves for the photos and like shoveled the
Mm,
driveway or something.
yeah, and I mean, it's tough selling a vacant property. You can tell just the difference in pictures that it's
Yeah.
hard to imagine this decorated in a certain way. Sure, they can go back and look at the previous pictures, but it definitely looks less appealing. It looks like more of a shell. It looks like something that's not super exciting to be in. And you've even got like the water on the dishwasher,
Oh
like
yeah.
staining here, right? So little things like that. The prep was minimal. You can tell here. They didn't even, they left the hooks and took the curtains here. The mirrors look crooked. So, they haven't done themselves any service. Whether or not they would have got more than 830 is a whole nother ballpark. But they don't know. The
Well,
basement, the washer, dryer
that
are gone.
like the wiring there.
Yeah, this looks like it's to code, right? We've got just a dangling, and this would have been above a washer or dryer, right? So for sure, proper way to do it. Here's your dirty floor in the bathroom. So they've left a lot to be desired here. I don't think they've done themselves any favors, but I am curious now that we're talking about it, now that I see the shape that it's in, if this was actually a power of sale and bam,
Yeah, I was gonna
Royal
say.
Bank. So this one is it lines up exactly with what I just expected, right? You can't take a hit that brings you from 1.31 to 830 without it being a bank sale. It's hard to have that much equity in a property, and that could have been their second property that would have eaten up their equity piece on their first property and their second here. So this is pretty ugly. What do you think? I mean, give me your opinion on the house and how the house
Mm.
looks compared to what you see out there. Albeit for 830 grand, let us know what you can actually get in Vancouver for that price as well, right? Because that's probably part of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a sad state of affairs. Someone's lost their home. It's not something to laugh at by any means. I think it also shows for people watching the difference in between a staged home and a vacant home. And for so many people who push back against, a couple grand to stage it, you can just see, and that's a perfect example, just if they would have staged that, they would have got more. Obviously, the bank just needs to get what they need. But for me, I look at just based here in Vancouver, 830,000 looked like there was a suite. For me, like an investment, that's awesome. I think that would be a smart play. Whoever bought that got a winner. But here in Vancouver for 830,000 you're looking at condos, right? Like you're getting maybe, a smaller, maybe, yeah, a 2-bedroom condo on the lower end,
Right.
a 1-bedroom condo, and then like a bigger one, usually it's like in the seven. So you're probably in that 2-bedroom range, I don't know, 800, 900 square feet, something that's a little bit older. And then, for the same thing. Whereas if you had cash on hand, I'd be calling you up and being 830, get me a deal like that. I can rent up the upstairs. I can rent out the downstairs. You got a lot of equity in that home when the market does turn around. Because I think even just they did obviously some landscaping outside. I probably would do some exterior work to make it look a little bit nicer, but the inside of that house is pretty decent. Maybe some of the
Yeah, the
colors aren't
the
there,
upper
but
level for sure. The upper level's been
yeah.
really renovated, and you could go and change some of the siding on the exterior, freshen it up a bit, right? And you can only modify it so much. It's just the style of house. But at the end of the day, I agree. Like for 830 to get a detached home, we still don't see a ton of that happening here. I think somebody got away with a pretty solid deal. This one just happened too. So this sale just took place. So somebody March 27th. So we're talking like just a couple days ago, got a really good deal. That's kind of what we see in the winter months here, is we see less buyers active and less buyers who are hopping on a great deal because they're worried about the market too, right?
What would that rent be on there?
You could rent a house like this, call it like 3 to 3,200, give or take. So
Okay,
depending,
yeah, because
yeah.
sorry, sir, for how much up and down?
Like, well, if you're gonna do separate, you need to do some work on it. But if you want to do a basement rental here, probably about 15 to 1,600, and then the upper, you could probably rent for another 25 to 27.
Okay. 25 to 20, yeah, because I mean, just on like the mortgage amount, if you're putting just like 100 grand on that, I mean, your mortgage plus your property fees, I mean, you're looking at a pretty affordable rate that was probably cash flow positive with everything. So
Yeah.
very different landscape than it is here. Where in Vancouver, it's almost impossible to get anything that cash flows positive.
Yeah, it's tough to find this because it's not in Toronto. It's actually looking like it could be positive depending on what they needed to do, depending on the tenants that they're able to find. And, there is still some opportunity for investors, but investors have also seen different taxes come their way. So I think a lot of them out here are kind of on the outskirts waiting to see, like, does it make sense for us to get back into the market if we're going to get hit with all these capital gains? And then Ontario's tenant rules and regulations are just really against the landlords here. Unfortunately, no matter what the tenant does, you can't get them out of your properties here, and it's
Mm.
become a real problem. So the risk versus the cash flow, unless it's really cash hand over fist, it's tough to jump at something as a landlord out here right now.
Yeah, I think we should do a podcast on that, just about tenancies and BC and Ontario, what's going on. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think that'd
think
be a good episode for all of you guys to tune in. And if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We want to get this one to 100 subscribers in the next few weeks here. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We're giving you 2 a week, every Monday and every Thursday. We're hitting you with a new topic. And if there's something you want us to cover, a news piece, whatever it is you guys are looking for, just drop it in that comment section, and then we'll make sure to hit it with a podcast for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this one.
take care. Bye bye.